Okay guys, it's finally here. Low buck truck on a 6-liter. We tried it on a 5.3. We even ran it with a turbo. Now it's time to test it on the 6-liter. Hello everybody, I'm Richard Holder, and as always, welcome to the channel. We have what everyone's been waiting for, the truck cam on a 6-liter test. I have my own low buck truck camshaft. This time we're testing it on a 6-liter. This is an LY6, and we're going to find out. We know that this type of cam works well on a 4.8 and a 5.3. We've run it with a turbo. We've run it with lots of stuff, and yes, it performs well, but a lot of guys want to know, hey, can I put this in a 6-liter, and is it going to work? Well, here is your answer, and spoiler alert, actually, we knew it was going to work good, and that's exactly what it did. Let's check it out. Okay guys, let's jump right in, and I want to start off by showing you what happened when we ran the low buck truck camshaft on a 5.3 liter. I have a full video up on it, so if you want to take a look and you want to get more detailed information, that video is up. I wanted to include a quick rundown here only because I want to be able to compare the gains that we get from a 5.3 to the gains that we get on the 6-liter when we tested that. So this is our 5.3 liter. It started out life as a junkyard motor, had 706 heads on it, has the truck intake manifold, factory throttle body, long tube headers, Holley HP. We have a good, we have an 80-pound set of injectors in it, so we got more than enough fuel to supply the power output that we're trying to get to. We had the heads already had a BTR valve spring upgrade on them so that we could put other camshafts in them, and we tested a lot of cams on this particular motor. We ran this motor on the engine dyno, and it did what they normally do with a stock camshaft. This was a stock LM7 camshaft, 355 horsepower, peak horsepower, and 380.7, so 381 foot-pounds of torque. Here's what happened after we put the low buck truck camshaft in it. Power jumped up to 420.7 or so, 421 horsepower. Peak torque checked in at 416 or 17 foot-pounds of torque. So you can see good gains through most of the curve. Lost a little bit maybe down low, below 6,000 RPM in that load-in kind of area. So we had good gains. The other thing I wanted to show you, we also ran this very quickly with a turbo. So this is the stock cam with the turbo, and that was at like 7 pounds. Here is a low buck truck camshaft with a turbo, and again, you can see it works the same as it does NA. When we do a test NA, when we add boost, as long as we can add exactly the same amount of boost, we just see similar gains. So, you know, once again, every camshaft is a turbo cam, including this one, and including lots and lots of other ones. We would see the same thing if we use the Brian Tooley Racing Truck Norris or Chopacabra or even something bigger than that. It doesn't matter. The thing that's going to dictate whether or not it works with a turbo is, do you like the camshaft? Does it give you good low speed response? Does it do the other things? It is definitely going to do the same thing that it does NA and boosted, and this is really a perfect example of that. Now let's check out the gains that we got when testing the low buck truck camshaft, the $179 camshaft on the 6-liter. Okay guys, here we go. This is our comparison of the Super Richie low buck truck camshaft on a 6-liter. So we need to talk a little bit about the test motor. This was a 6-liter LY6, and this was actually the original Big Bang motor, or the original Gen 4 Big Bang motor, 6-liter used way back. It started out as an LY6 with VVT, but we soon replaced that with a factory 6-liter cam. And I need to point out something very important. On this 6-liter cam, it's just a cam that I have marked that says 6-liter on it. So that's what we know it is. I don't know whether or not it's the early 6-liter cam or the later 6-liter cam. So if somebody in the comments can let me know what are the markings or designations for those two cams. I think it's the later LQ9 camshaft that we're starting out with, but at any rate, this is the cam that we're starting out with. So it was a stock 6-liter short block. We did have ring gap in it. This thing has been run hundreds and hundreds of times, including running up to over 1,500 horsepower with the turbo stuff on it. But what I did was put the stock cylinder heads back on this, stock LY6. These weren't actually the original heads. This was just another set of rec port heads that we had. Same kind of deal. They had a valve spring upgrade from Brian Tooley Racing. We ran the stock rockers. We did run hardened push rods because those were part of the combination. We ran the stock LY6 truck intake manifold, and in my testing, the comparison between that intake manifold and like the lower profile LS3 style rec port, because the LY6 has rec port heads on it. The LS3 intake manifold and the LY6, I tested them a number of times and compared the two. They make exactly the same power. So this was a truck manifold. We did replace the drive-by-wire throttle body with a 92 millimeter fast. It was a mechanical throttle body. We ran this thing with stock truck exhaust manifolds and 2.5-inch exhaust. We didn't have any mufflers or anything back behind there, but we just did run the stock exhaust manifolds and the basically shorty extensions of 2.5-inch pipe just aimed out so that we could get the exhaust flowing to the back of the dyno. I want to point out real quick, because I know that we're going to get comments on this. Hey, why didn't you test it with headers? This is what happens. Whether I test it with stock exhaust manifolds or I test it with headers, I'm going to get comments to say that you picked the wrong thing. You should have done it with headers if I tested it with stock exhaust manifolds, or you should have done it with stock exhaust manifolds if I did it with headers. I have lots of videos up where I've tested the cam swaps both ways, not this particular one, but other camshafts. And here's what happens. When you run a cam comparison between a stock cam and some sort of aftermarket cam with stock exhaust manifolds, the power output starts lower because stock exhaust manifolds make less than headers. It starts lower and ends lower. When we add the headers, it just starts higher and ends higher. There isn't one camshaft that likes headers and doesn't like stock exhaust manifolds. Like I said, it's just a matter of making less power when you start and making less power when you end with a cam swap, and that's what would happen exactly if we tested that here. So we ran stock exhaust manifolds, we ran a Holley HP management system, we ran 80-pound injectors as we normally do, and we ran this thing on 91 pump gas, and then we started out with excuse me, with the stock camshaft. And so run with the stock camshaft on this 6-liter, it made 429 horsepower, actually 430. We're going to call this 430 because it was 429.7, and peak torque checked in at 451 foot-pounds of torque. And here's what happened when we installed excuse me, the low buck truck camshaft. You can see that we picked up power through most of the curve. Peak power checked in at 492 horsepower, so it did pretty well. So we went from 430 to 492. Yeah, 492 horsepower, so it did well. And peak torque jumped up from 451 foot-pounds, and actually we made a good bit more peak torque, to 481 foot-pounds. So it did well. It picked up power from starting at 2,700 RPM. There seemed to be a little bit of a trade-off down low there. But again, this is exactly as expected given the cam specs, given the fact that we've run these on a 4.8 and a 5.3, and we kind of know what they do. On the 6-liter, it's arguably even better. This thing made peak power out at 5,900 to 6,000 RPM. So again, not a high RPM camshaft, obviously, for this kind of combination, and we picked up power everywhere. It's exactly what we expected. So what I want to do now is I'm going to show you a comparison between the 6.0 and the 5.3. I'm going to put them both on the same graph so we can kind of see the relative gains and see where things started and everything. So let's check that out. Okay, guys, as you can see from the video, it worked very well on the 6-liter, but what I want to do is show you a comparison between how it worked on the 5.3 and then how it worked on the 6-liter, and you can see that the relative gains stay pretty common or pretty consistent, and the same thing would happen on a 4.8. We would just see, less starting power and less ending power, but we would see good gains on a 4.8, 5.3, 6.0, as we showed on the turbo stuff as well. So this is the power difference on our 5.3. We went from 350-ish horsepower to 421 or so. Here's what happened when we did the 6-liter. I'll show you. You'll be able to see the differences here. Okay, so our top one is the low buck truck on the 6-liter. The one right below that here, I'll kind of show you where that is the stock camshaft. Our stock 6-liter camshaft on the 6-liter, and then below that, our our low buck truck camshaft with the 5.3, and at the very bottom one is the 5.3 with the stock camshaft. You can see, so we're getting good gains whether we have a 5.3 or a 6.0. One thing I want to point out as we're looking at these, we see that this camshaft is a little bit more of an RPM camshaft on a 5.3 than it is on a 6.0, where it's making peak, you know, it's continuing to make power past 6,000 RPM. It's kind of leveling out on the 5.3. We didn't see that as much on the 6-liter. It was rolling over just a little bit on the 6-liter. You can still rev it fine to 6,500 if that's what you want it to do, but you're still getting, you know, good power gains from the 6-liter down low. And the other thing I wanted to point out to you real quickly is if you look below 3,000 RPM, there was a little bit of a trade-off shown on the 5.3 and less of a trade-off on the 6-liter. The trade-off started much earlier, again, as we would expect. Also important to note, one of those was run with headers and one of them was run with stock exhaust manifolds. So there's something to be played around with there. But as we expected, low buck truck camshaft on a 6-liter, thumbs up. It works well on a 4.8, 5.3, and on a 6-liter. I'm Richard Earl. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. Do all that stuff, and I'll keep testing.